Dark Enchantress Cookie has infiltrated the St. Pastry Order. And it wasn't even that hard. Hey everyone, Kat here, and if you are one of those players who did not reread every pastry-related story, including the entire Cookie Odyssey, before playing this latest update, that's okay, because I'm gonna try to fill in the gaps on why stuff went down the way it did. Disclaimer that these are my own conclusions, and if they're wrong, well, you can tell me I told you so later, okay? The St. Pastry Order first appeared in Tragedy at the Tower, released in May 2021. They're a religious group that worships the witches, but only a tiny subset of them know why the witches created cookies, and they will kill to protect this secret. Their authority levels are highly structured, and they teach that their superiors are not to be questioned. All of this creates the perfect storm for Dark Enchantress to weaponize their own religion against them in the latest update. The first member we meet is, well, Pastry Cookie, who's instructed by the Reverend Mother to investigate a growing army of cake monsters. In following this order, Pastry Cookie meets Red Velvet Cookie, whose whole existence causes a moral conflict for her. She was taught that cake creatures all deserve death, while cookies should all live. But now she's confronted with someone who's both, and she sees the monsters display sorrow when he's hurt, revealing they're not the heartless killers that she thought. Then, in the middle of this moral debate, she has a vision of what happened to White Lily Cookie at the witches' banquet. White Lily doesn't explicitly worship the witches like Pastry does, but she did once believe that they were benevolent, and she went to the banquet to ask them why cookies were made. However, she not only witnesses them eating cookies, she learns that that's the only reason they were created at all, to be food. White Lily then falls into the ultimate dough and the witches retrieve her, only to sadistically rebake her in the oven because it'll be fun to see what Fortuna has in store. Pastry Cookie sees all of this through White Lily's eyes, and it nearly breaks her. She isn't even sure she can pray anymore. But when she returns from her revelation, the Reverend Mother is 100% convinced that her faith will remain firm. In fact, she envisions her joining the Shadow Sisters, a group trained to assassinate any outsiders who learn the truth of cookie origins. Given that this costume exists for Pastry Cookie, turns out she's right. Pastry Cookie would rather commit murder than accept that she's been worshipping creatures who might not deserve to be worshipped. What's even more interesting is that members of the Order are also willing to follow their superiors' commands without question, even if they contradict previous teachings. While the Reverend Mother might have initially taught that cake monsters had to be destroyed, during Match Made in Oven, released in March 2025, she takes the opposite stance. One of the Shadow Sisters, knowing Black Forest Cookie is about to transform into a cake monster, asks for permission to take care of her. But instead, she's scolded for trying to interfere with this miracle sent by the creators. Shadow Sister Cookie then asks, I simply don't understand. How could this be a miracle when Black Forest Cookie gained the power of the Tainted Ones? The Reverend Mother scolds her again for being doubtful, and Shadow Sister Cookie immediately backs off and apologizes. It's not yet clear if Dark Enchantress has gotten to the group or not, but the fact that she commands cake monsters and now they're suddenly friendly to cake monsters is certainly telling. Then we have the events of the Odyssey, which was actually released between these two updates, starting in May 2022. During these events, the Order attempts to steal the soul gems of Hollyberry, Pure Vanilla, and Dark Cacao. Their reasoning is vague for most of the story, simply telling Gingerbrave and the group that they can't possibly understand, and only the Order knows the soul gem's true power. At the end of the Odyssey, however, Financier Cookie follows the elder Milfoy Cookie into a secret room where she's telling children how sad the witches were when their creations ran away from them. She also tells them to be on the lookout for the ancient soul gems: vanilla, dark cacao, berries, cheese, and lilies. Do you see these 5 shiny treasures with these ingredients? When these 5 treasures are gathered together in one place, they can help us reunite with the creators. Milfoy Cookie is ultimately arrested and questioned about these creators she serves, to which she replies, The first oven will open, and all will become one. This is all I have to say. It might have meant nothing when the Odyssey came out, but as of the latest update, it's pretty clear what she's referring to. Awaken the Avatar of Destiny, a massive being that will supposedly unite all cookies into one dough and allow them to meet their creators. The Order might have been unsuccessful in resurrecting the Avatar before, but they are successful when they try again in the Premonition of Doom. Curiously enough, though, Pastry Cookie is absent here, and the story focuses instead on two other members of the Order, Menthol Cookie and Seltzer Cookie. Where did Pastry Cookie go exactly? Honestly, that's a good question. I thought at first she was the cookie Seltzer is referring to when she says, "That cookie who was supposed to take my place left us all too soon." She goes on to say this unnamed cookie left the faith, so unless she crumbled, it's likely not Black Forest Cookie. Did Pastry Cookie have a change of heart after all? Maybe, but if you check the character's bonus comments here, you can see Pastry Cookie has written, "The glint of a holy fork, subscribed." So sounds like she still believes in it to me. It's also entirely possible this line references a character that we haven't met yet. But the bigger question is, how do Menthol Cookie and Seltzer Cookie fare when their faith is challenged even harder than Pastry Cookie's was? Much better than I expected, honestly. Menthol Cookie is presented as a rational thinker. If concrete facts don't back up his understanding of the faith, he dives deeper and he's willing to adjust his views and interpretations. It's a refreshing take on the well-worn trope of a devout religious follower. Seltzer Cookie, well, she's kind of obsessed with him and mostly does whatever he does. His logic-based approach ultimately saves both their lives. Menthol Cookie was first converted to his faith by the High Forkbearer, a character with a lot of mysterious backstory that I am not taking guesses about. At some point in the past, the High Forkbearer was pulled into a rift and transforms into Doughael, someone Menthol Cookie barely recognizes as the High Forkbearer at all. Then all the present members of the Order sacrifice themselves to the Avatar of Destiny in order to make its dough complete. This presumably includes characters like Missionary Cookie, briefly seen trying to recruit new believers in Odyssey, and Milfway Cookie, the mastermind behind the white masked cookies. It does not, thankfully, include the children she was trying to brainwash. We're not told how she escaped custody after she was arrested, but she does lament that the children were led astray and she failed them. And now, well, now it's safe to assume that she and the other manipulated cookies are all part of this thing. And yes, I do say manipulated here, because while we're not told explicitly, there is a strong indication that the Avatar of Destiny is yet another one of Dark Enchantress Cookie's creations. First, it's a guild raid boss, and we have a pattern of those bosses being Dark Enchantress Cookie's monsters. They're even called out with precise descriptions when she attacks the Creme Republic during Odyssey. Foul beasts as dark as the night are emerging from the waves. It's like the monsters are made of tar. A dragon has been spotted in the sky, as crimson as hellfire itself. Second, when the High Forkbearer first falls into the rift and hears voices that are obviously White Lily and Dark Enchantress Cookie's conflicting thoughts. White Lily being the resentful spirit, and Dark Enchantress being the truth-seeking spirit. Finally, we know Dark Enchantress is making a massive-sized ultimate cookie, and that she needs the soul gems for it to reach its full potential. Shadowmilk teases Wind Archer about this back in the Vanquisher of Darkness story. Think, Greenie, think. Really, why would we need so much dough? I don't have that many friends in need of a new body. The answer lies deeper, much deeper, in the darkness where my dough is imprisoned. But even earlier than that, in the laboratorium, Dark Enchantress Cookie reveals that, yes, she will be needing the soul gems of the Beast Cookies as well as the Ancients, and she's not going to ask for them nicely. The souls of the Beast Cookies must possess their dough fully. That is the only way I can restore the Beast Cookie soul gem to its whole and pure form, and claim it for myself. In other words, from the way things look now, Dark Enchantress Cookie has more or less leached off the Order's beliefs, created her own authority figures within the group, and manipulated them into giving her what she needs for her own plans. We know perfectly well she doesn't want to meet the creators. She already did, and she wants them dead. She gets all these cookies to abandon their morals and their lives in the name of their faith, and it's a really tragic and horrifying scene. But it works because everyone in this group has been trained to believe in the sovereignty of the witches and in the absolute authority of anyone higher up. It sounds extreme, but the key is gaining Cookie's trust first. That way, they'll get defensive if someone voices concern. Even if things seem personally off to you, it's easier to make up excuses than admit you may have been conned. It's a popular approach because it works. This is how Apple Fairy Cookie gets everyone to trust her for as long as she does. Heck, I made a whole cutscene where Shadowmilk uses this tactic to convince everyone that he's pure vanilla cookie, and that White Lily must be insane for suggesting otherwise. Thankfully, Menthol and Seltzer Cookie recognize the Avatar's awakening for the terror that it is, and they flee, only to run into Madeline Cookie. In his quest to expand his horizons after the Odyssey, Madeline had a run-in with Missionary Cookie, followed her, and got himself captured by the Order. While in his full paladin gear, no less. It's not clear where this awkward trio will go from this point, but I'd like to think that they're going to try to dissuade other Order members from falling for Dark Enchantress Cookie's manipulation. I'd also like to think Madeline Cookie is going to meet up with Espresso again soon. I'll be making a cutscene about him in the near future, but in the meantime, go check out my video about Shadowmilk turning everyone against White Lily. It's fully voice acted and everything. Thanks for stopping by my channel, and subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, happy reading and happy cookie training!